The love story between Eleanor and her boy toy was the stuff of legends, moving countless people to tears. He was young, handsome, and from a humble, pitiful background. She was a young, successful woman with a rich mom and a powerful dad. The day the story went viral, I asked for a divorce. Eleanor was unconcerned. She looked at me with a smirk. "Don't be rash. Our son is only a month old. Do you want him to grow up without a mother?" I stood there frozen for a long time. That's when my heart truly died. She was the one who was wrong, but she made others feel guilty. The video of Eleanor and her male secretary quickly started trending. In the user-uploaded video, Eleanor was at an amusement park with Ethan, going on all the rides. They kept looking at each other, their eyes full of laughter. They looked like a perfect match. At the end, the girl who uploaded the video even made an appearance. "You guys, I just had to film them. They're so perfect for each other. Like they walked straight out of a romance novel. I didn't ask before I uploaded this, so I'm not sure if they're okay with it. If the people in the video see this, feel free to claim it." For some reason, the video just blew up. Thousands of people were in the comments wishing them a happily ever after. By the time I saw it, the video was the #1 trending topic. Before I could even get our PR team on it, Eleanor's secretary, Ethan, called me first. I answered, and his voice was choked with emotion. "Daniel, I'm so sorry. I don't know how things got to this point. Yesterday was my birthday, and I just wanted someone to go to the amusement park with me. Eleanor happened to be free, so I asked her to come along. I swear I had no idea someone would film us, let alone mistake us for a couple. You must be pretty pleased to be mistaken for her boyfriend." "Huh?" I wanted to ask him that so badly, but I held my tongue. "Eleanor and I will discuss this and have the PR department handle it. You don't need to worry about it." After hanging up, I dug my nails into my palm so hard I nearly drew blood. I had noticed for a while that Eleanor had become less invested in our marriage. But I always figured that every relationship cools down from a passionate flame to a quiet simmer, so I never suspected anything else. Now the truth had slapped me across the face. Eleanor was seeing someone else. As much as I didn't want to believe it, I had no choice. I thought for a moment, then made a call. "I need you to get me some pictures." When I got home, Eleanor's mother was waiting for me in the living room. "Daniel, you're finally back. What is all this? How did this business with Eleanor end up all over the internet?" "I only heard about it from my friends during our card game." "Mom, please don't worry," I said, taking a deep breath. "We'll handle it." Good, she said, relieved. "You two have come so far to get to this point. You can't get divorced over this. It must be a misunderstanding. Eleanor isn't that kind of person." As we talked, she let out a sigh. "Life just keeps getting better. Why can't people just be content?" Eleanor's mother stood up. "Daniel, I'm gonna go up and check on the baby." "Mom," I said, stopping her. "You know what Eleanor did, don't you? Her mood was off today. She had watched Eleanor grow up. She knew her daughter better than I did." Eleanor's mother turned around. For a fleeting moment, the woman standing before me merged with the one who, years ago, had accused me of being a social climber. She was still the same person, but so much had changed. 6 years had passed. No matter how comfortable life is, you can't escape aging. On top of that, she looked terrible, her strange mood making her seem much more haggard than usual. She walked closer to me. "Daniel, you can yell at her, you can scold her, but please don't divorce her." I knew what she wanted to say. The older generation always tries to patch things up, never to split them apart. I slowly pulled my hand away. "Mom, you know I've never been one to tolerate betrayal. But your child is so young. Leo is just a month old. A baby that's small. Our child being so young means what exactly?" I laid the facts on the table. It means Eleanor was fooling around with her male secretary while she was pregnant. You can't deny that, can you? Eleanor's mother said nothing more. I went upstairs. The nanny was watching over the baby. I spoke with her and told her she could head home for the day. We just had a party for Leo 2 days ago, and Eleanor had looked completely exhausted. I'd assumed it was because her work schedule had been packed lately. Thinking back now, maybe it was because she'd spent too much energy on her secretary. Or maybe she was just plain irritated. which explained her expression. Now that everything was out in the open, I had to rethink so many things. Leo was sleeping soundly. I just stood there watching him. I don't know how much time passed before Eleanor walked in. "Daniel, what are you doing just sitting here? Why isn't the nanny watching him?" She hugged me from behind, but I remained rigid. Seeing that I had no intention of talking, Eleanor didn't press her luck and instead gently touched our son's face. Just then, Leo woke up and let out a couple of wails. Eleanor smiled, picked him up, and began to soothe him patiently. The curtains were drawn except for a small crack, letting in a sliver of light, but the room was still dim. I turned on the small, warm night light. Eleanor walked around the room with the baby in her arms, a gentle smile on her face as she patiently quieted him. After a little while, he stopped crying and lay peacefully in her arms, looking around curiously. If this had happened before the story about her and the secretary broke, a scene like this would have made me feel incredibly happy. After all, Eleanor and I had been through so much to get here. We met when we were young. We were each other's first love. Then, my family's business suddenly went bankrupt, creating a huge gap between our social standings. Her mother was vehemently against our relationship, but we weathered it all and finally got everyone to approve, and in the end, we got married. Just like in all the stories, we met, we got to know each other, we fell in love, and we ended up together. But no one ever told me that marriage was the beginning of a whole new story. "Is there really nothing going on between you and that secretary?" I asked, looking at Eleanor holding our son. "Why would you bring that up in front of the baby?" She replied, annoyed. "He can't understand. It doesn't matter. You have to be careful what you say around a child." She turned her head away, refusing to look at me. "Is that so?" I stared at her. "Then can you tell me why you keep dodging my question instead of giving me a straight answer?" "Why? Eleanor, can you just give me an answer?" "What answer do you want?" Eleanor suddenly laughed. "Daniel, why are you being so paranoid lately? Are you stressed out? Maybe you should see a therapist. You might be feeling the pressure of being a new father." I was so close to her I could hear her breathing. "Eleanor, am I the one who's overly stressed, or are you?" Eleanor got Leo back to sleep, placed him in his crib, and then pulled me out of the room to talk. "Daniel," she said, placing her hands on my shoulders, "please don't be so suspicious, okay? Have a little faith in me. Our child was just born. Our happy life is just getting started. Why would you doubt me? Don't you know that suspicion is often how the cracks in a marriage begin to form?" I stood there, saying nothing. Eleanor was as poised and manipulative as ever. I remember back when her mother looked down on my family after we went broke and wanted to call off our engagement. Eleanor was being driven mad by her mom. No matter how much she begged, her mother wouldn't let her marry me. Back then, she loved me so much she threatened to kill herself. She even wanted to run away with me to start over in a new city. But I knew that was impossible. Her family's business was huge, and she was their only daughter. She couldn't leave and she couldn't cut ties. I urged her not to be so reckless and to think of a way to resolve things peacefully. But Eleanor misunderstood me. She thought I didn't want to fight, that I was ready to accept reality and part ways amicably. After misreading my intentions, she didn't even have the courage to confront me. Instead, she went out drinking by herself. When I found her, she still couldn't bring herself to ask what I really thought, terrified that I would confirm her fears and break up with her. Eventually, Eleanor drank more and more, and the tears started to flow uncontrollably. "Why, Daniel? Why are you giving up on me? Can't we just try a little longer? If we just stick to what we want, my mom will come around eventually. I know this is unfair to you, but I really don't want to lose you." Later, she finally stopped avoiding it and had me meet with her mother. In a quiet, private room, she cried so hard she could barely speak. "I still don't get it, Mom. Do you really love money that much? You know Daniel is the only person I'll ever love. So why are you trying to force me to marry someone else? Do you want to drive me crazy before you'll be happy?" Eleanor's mother was silent, her back turned. "Mom, you can't be like this. When Daniel's family had money, our families arranged our engagement. But now that his family has problems, why are you in such a rush to call it off? I don't want to be a sellout. You might be able to do this, but I can't. I'd be afraid of people talking behind my back for the rest of my life. I love Daniel for who he is, not his family or his status. Mom, if you're going to force me, then be prepared to never see your daughter again. Her mother had been unyielding, refusing to budge. But when she heard Eleanor threaten suicide, she finally broke down. I don't want this either, Eleanor. Your mother isn't that kind of person. But you have to understand, your father doesn't just have you. He has other women, other sons, another family out there. You keep threatening to kill yourself to pressure me. But what am I supposed to do? Your father already thinks you're too soft. He wants you to marry a powerful man. Only then will he let you inherit the family business. So what can I do? Am I supposed to just stand by and watch you make a huge mistake? Watch you throw away your entire future for one man? Her mother's sobs were heartbreaking. By the end of her speech, I was almost ready to tell Eleanor we should break up myself. But Eleanor never gave in. She was determined to be with me. Finally, she pulled me out of the private room and took me to the apartment we were renting. Half a month later, her mother sent the butler to ask her to come home, saying she had agreed to our marriage. And with that, her fight was won. I thought about it over and over, and I just couldn't let it go. I had seen what Eleanor looked like when she loved me, so I could tell the difference between when she did and when she didn't. She used to love me with such pure, fiery passion. So later, even the slightest hint of its absence was something I could feel. She truly loved me back then. But where did that person go? If the 23-year-old Eleanor knew what the 33-year-old Eleanor would do, would she forgive herself? Finally, the call and the email from the private investigator arrived. On a bright, sunny afternoon, Eleanor came home early from the office, a bouquet of flowers in her arms. The weather is so beautiful today. Let's go out for dinner, she said, handing me the flowers. Daniel, you know what? I had to run an errand today and passed by that little shop on West Street. The owner called out to me and said he hadn't seen me in a long time. I stood there chatting with him for a bit, and I suddenly remembered that year we overcame everything to be together. I'd run away from home without a penny to my name to force my mom to agree. Back then, we rented that tiny apartment to save money and ate at that little shop every day. The owner would always greet us. We were so happy then, weren't we? Eleanor's face was full of tenderness. Daniel, when you think about it, we were so young back then. In our prime. So many years have passed in a flash. If you hadn't mentioned it, I would have almost forgotten, I said, taking the flowers from her. Beautiful, pale white roses. My favorite. Sometimes I really miss that time. That was when I truly understood how wonderful love could be. Daniel, how did we have so much to talk about back then? We were together every day, and it felt like having each other meant having the whole world. And now, I suddenly smiled at her. That shop hasn't changed. But what about us? Have we changed? Eleanor's smile froze on her face. I shoved the flowers back into her arms. I don't like them anymore. And while you're at it, take a good look in the mirror. See where that hickey on your neck came from. Neck. Disgusting, isn't it? Her eyes darted around in a panic as she clumsily rubbed at her neck. Let me explain, Daniel, it's not what you think. How could there be a hickey? That's impossible. I tossed a hand mirror at her. After she looked, she fell silent. You see? Sometimes I have to shove the evidence in your face before you'll admit it. Otherwise, you'll just keep making excuses and telling me I'm misunderstanding. I studied Eleanor carefully. The years had not left many traces on her face. Instead, they had made her appear more composed and capable. She was no longer the earnest young girl she once was, but the Eleanor of today, who handled everything with effortless ease. That little shop she mentioned was in a remote corner of West Street. She hadn't been there in years. How did she just happen to pass by it today? It was a bad location. No one ever went there to do business. I voiced my question, but Eleanor didn't answer. See? You can't even come up with a good lie. I laughed, then pulled a stack of photos from my bag and threw them in her face. The photos hit her face and body, then fluttered to the ground, scattering everywhere. They were the pictures I had just received. There's a famous haunted house on West Street. The props are a bit old and not very fancy, but it's known for being incredibly intense, which makes it popular with young people. I always knew Eleanor was terrified of ghosts, but today, to make her secretary happy, she went to the haunted house with him. The photos didn't just show today. They also showed her taking her secretary to restaurants, to hotels, and on vacation. So, while I was exhausted and worried sick about our long-awaited child, she was soaking in a hot spring with her secretary, embracing him, doing unspeakable things in the water. So, she had skipped company meetings again and again because she had to be with him. So, that's why Eleanor was so distracted at our son's 1-month party, because her secretary kept texting her, telling her he'd sprained his ankle. So that's what it was. So many things were happening behind my back. What the private investigator couldn't find, the tabloids were happy to send me, looking for a payout. With enough money, is there anything in this world you can't find out? Take a good look. I heard my own voice hoarse. Eleanor, are there still some things you're not willing to admit? Listen to me, Daniel, Eleanor pleaded, grabbing my hand. It's not what you think. Let's talk. She suddenly hugged me, her arms tightening around me, holding on for dear life. I don't know how to explain this. I know you won't listen to anything I say right now, but Daniel, don't be in such a rush to condemn me. Just listen to me. When did it start? I had no intention of listening to her excuses. Eleanor fell silent. Time really does change everything. Turns out no feeling in this world lasts forever. When we got married, you promised to be faithful for life. I kept my promise. What about you, Eleanor? You must really love that man, right? Amusement parks, haunted houses, things you used to think were childish. Now you do them with him over and over again. You see? Years ago, you said that even people deeply in love aren't always willing to change for each other. A decade later, you've broken your own rule. No, listen to me, Eleanor trailed off. She suddenly crouched on the floor, her hands clutching her head, as if she'd suffered a terrible blow or was in immense pain. Don't do this, Daniel. Her tears hit the floor, one drop after another. Don't interrogate me like a criminal. This isn't how we're supposed to be. So you're saying you didn't cheat? It was an accident. I was under too much pressure and needed an escape. But I know the difference between someone I used to blow off steam and the person I truly love. After all these years, can't you feel my love for you? Eleanor threw the question back at me. So, you're just making excuses for your behavior? I said, looking down at her. I was so scared, she cried, seeing you go through so much just to have a child. I couldn't bear to come home. It was heartbreaking to watch. I was worried something would happen to you. I was just under so much pressure. I stood there, my heart completely dead. Shamelessness truly has no limits. For years, Eleanor and I had wanted a child. But that perfectly normal wish took us 10 years to achieve. 5 years ago, Eleanor wanted to prove herself to her father, so she was busy restructuring a branch office. I stayed up late with her, pulling all-nighters to finish projects. But on the way home one of those nights, she was distracted while driving and slammed right into the car in front of us. Took another 5 years of recovery before we could finally have a child. But who would have thought that now, the news of her affair with her secretary would be thrown in my face? You were under pressure, so you couldn't help yourself, is that it? I wasn't looking for anything. He was the one who sent me signals, who seduced me. Can't you come up with a different excuse? I was stunned by her audacity. When a dog steals food, do you blame the meat on the counter for smelling good? Don't make me lose all respect for you, Eleanor. You can't even admit to what you've done. Get a divorce agreement drawn up for me as soon as possible. If you can't offer me a satisfactory settlement, I'll hire the best lawyer and sue you to get back every cent of our marital assets that man spent. I never said I wanted a divorce. Eleanor stumbled after me for a few steps. How did it come to this? I turned and just looked at her. She was undeniably beautiful, which was why men had always swarmed around her. I remember when we first got married, we were in our honeymoon phase. Eleanor went through 3 male secretaries in 6 months. When I asked why, she told me with righteous indignation that she felt they were acting inappropriately, always trying to catch her eye while serving tea or organizing files. I had teased her back then. So you got nervous and spilled tea on him? Why didn't you just give in? She was both angry and annoyed. It scared me to death. You should have seen how unbuttoned his shirt was. Couldn't even look. I just told him to go home and change into something less revealing. After that, whenever we brought it up, we would laugh until we couldn't breathe. A few days later, Eleanor replaced her male secretary with a female one. My friends always praised her, saying she gave me a complete sense of security. I always considered her my soulmate. But when did it all change? Was it when she started wearing flashy jewelry that was more suited to a younger taste? Was it when she started working late more frequently and not coming home at night? Or was it when she started growing impatient with me? Sometimes I think I just trusted her too much. That's why I never noticed the signs. Only after her affair was exposed did I retroactively connect all the dots to confirm the outcome I already knew. I was so stupid. The person who once swore they would never betray true love ended up doing the one thing they shouldn't have. Forgiveness? She could forget about it. When my mother-in-law learned I had asked Eleanor for a divorce, she knocked on my door that night. Before she could speak, I cut her off. I don't know what you're here to say, but if you're here to talk me out of it, then don't bother. Once I make a decision, I never change it. It's always been that way. Eleanor should never have held out any hope. Wrong is wrong. Other people manage to stay faithful. Why couldn't she? Why did she have to compare herself to the worst examples instead of thinking about how different she was from the person she used to be? But Eleanor has a point, Daniel. Your child is still so young. We just had his 1-month party. And now you're announcing a divorce. People will laugh at us. Eleanor made a mistake. But who on earth doesn't make mistakes? Are you really willing to throw away so many years of history? I let out a sneer. Mom, I paused. This is the last time I'll call you that, out of respect for you being my child's grandmother. Don't waste your breath on meaningless arguments. You're Eleanor's mother, so no matter what you say today, you'll be on her side. But if my mother were still alive, she would be heartbroken for her son. She would fight for him, not make excuses that Eleanor made a mistake because she was going through a hard time. Eleanor's mother said nothing more and left. Our wedding photo was still on the nightstand. I took the picture out of the frame, tore it to pieces, and threw it in the trash. I simply can't tolerate betrayal. I demand a flawless relationship. If Eleanor couldn't provide that, then I was kicking her out. Why should I lower my standards for anyone? Impossible. If I could do it, why couldn't she? I took our son and went back to my own apartment. I hadn't told my father yet. I was afraid he wouldn't be able to handle it. After my family went bankrupt, my mother died suddenly from an illness. My dad was devastated for a long time, but over the next 3 years, he rebuilt everything from scratch. Now, our family is just as successful as it was before, on par with Eleanor's family. I have the confidence and the ability to be my own man. I will never let myself be backed into a corner where I can't afford to lose. I waited for 2 days, but the draft of the divorce agreement from Eleanor never came. Instead, her secretary, Ethan, suddenly asked to meet with me. I thought about it, brought a recording pen, and went. Seeing Ethan again, he no longer looked handsome and dapper, but unkempt and haggard. Daniel, I know I've wronged you, and I apologize. Please, help me. Eleanor isn't talking to me anymore. She had the company fire me, but he stammered for a while, looking pathetic. The gist of it was that he was being blackmailed by his ex-girlfriend's family, had racked up a huge debt, and was now at a dead end. He claimed he only seduced Eleanor to get the money to pay them off, repeatedly insisting he never wanted to ruin our relationship. All he wanted was $1 million to cut ties between them. I looked at Ethan, wondering what kind of twisted logic allowed him to say these things. Do I look like God? Why are you making wishes in front of me? Ethan fell silent. Daniel, please help me. My family isn't well off. I promise, once I get the money, I'll never bother Eleanor's family again. His words made it all clear. He was a smart guy. He always knew how to maximize his own benefit. I had been wondering why he would tell me all this. Now I understood. He had already gone to Eleanor, but she had refused to help him. So, in a desperate move, he came to me, pinning his hopes on the supposedly soft-hearted husband. He figured if he just humbled himself, maybe I'd agree. But what made him think I was so weak? Everything I do for myself. I never pull chestnuts out of the fire for someone else. Do you know who the last person who tried to take advantage of me was? I looked at Ethan. The last person who bullied me was back in middle school. There was this kid, the illegitimate son of some rich guy, who bullied an innocent classmate, pushing him so close to jumping off the roof. After I stopped him, he tried to pull the same crap on me. In the end, he was expelled, the rich guy's wife found out about him, and the rich guy abandoned him. With no skills and no education, he ended up as cheap labor. I've never been shy about showing my temper. I don't let people walk all over me, and I certainly don't let them take advantage of me. In my life, the one thing I'm not afraid of is being threatened. I took out the recording pen and placed it on the table. Ethan, 24 years old, bachelor's degree. Technically, with your qualifications, you should never have become Eleanor's personal secretary. You're not good enough. I know how you climbed the ladder, step by step, until you ended up in her bed. I also know that every one of your little exposures, including that secretly recorded video at the amusement park, was planned and orchestrated by you to create a buzz online. Ethan's expression grew uglier. He started fidgeting, rubbing his fingers together nervously. Watching him, I found it almost laughable. With his weak nerves, threatening me was completely out of his league. And I'm not finished. Your parents are both teachers. They were very strict with you growing up, almost old-fashioned, and they forbade you from dating in school. I don't know if you did all this to spite them or to unleash your repressed nature, but either way, you did it. Ethan opened his mouth, but no words came out. Since you had the guts to bring this to me, you should have been prepared for the consequences. Everything we've said here has already been sent to my assistant, who should be knocking on your parents' door right about now. For me, it was just a matter of digging up some information. Finding his parents' address wasn't hard at all. I didn't even have to look for it myself. Eleanor had HR send it to me. All of it was on file from when Ethan was hired. It was such simple information to get, yet that cheating woman actually thought she was atoning for her sins, hoping it would make me forgive her. How could I? This only made me look down on her more, made her seem even more pathetic. Are you crazy, Daniel Reed? What gives you the right to drag my parents into this? How am I supposed to face anyone now? Ethan screamed, throwing our untouched cups of coffee onto the floor. Do you have any idea that my family lives in faculty housing? If you make a scene, how are my parents supposed to show their faces? You're a monster. No wonder your wife cheated on you. Who could stand to be with someone like you? I slapped him across the face, hard and clean. If you mess with me, you'd better be ready for the consequences. I don't start trouble, but I don't run from it either. He dared to splash this all over the internet and bring it to my doorstep, so I dared to do the same to him and bring it to his parents. I stood up and grabbed my bag. I have to say, I have no respect for people like you, no matter your reason for being the other man. Knowing what you did was wrong and still coming here to provoke me just makes you even more disgusting. Ethan picked up his phone. I could clearly see call after call coming in, but he didn't answer a single one. That must be your parents. Aren't you going to answer? You have 3 days. If you don't clean up your own mess by then, I'll do more than just send a few photos to your parents. You can leak things online and bask in the praise of strangers, and I can expose your true colors and let everyone see your pathetic schemes. I will ruin you, I said calmly, then turned and left. As I was sitting in my car, I got another call from Eleanor's mother. Her voice was shrill and frantic. Daniel, can you come over? Please, I'm begging you. I can't handle this. I've been calling Eleanor, but she's not picking up. When I got to the hospital, I found out just how dramatic the situation was. Eleanor's father had been coming home less and less recently, always claiming he was busy. Her mother didn't believe him, but she didn't dare to question it too much. Today, she had received a call from a woman claiming to be her husband's mistress. Eleanor's father had a son in his old age, and today was the boy's birthday. At the party, the child had called him Dad. It was laughable, really. For that one reason, Eleanor's father got so excited that he had a stroke. The mistress, afraid of having a dead man in her house, called Eleanor's mother, the legal wife, to come and deal with it. As she told me the story in broken pieces, my mother-in-law suddenly burst into tears. How could he do this to me? How could he? He's so old, and he's out there having a child with another woman. He's trying to kill me with this humiliation. Eleanor's father was lying in the hospital bed. He woke up briefly, gesturing with his hands and stammering out words one by one. Lawyer. Law.
Yes.
The boy called me Dad. I have to leave him some money. Lawyer. Money. My mother-in-law's face changed in an instant. She leaned in close. What did you say? I said, what did you say? Say it again. Just then, the monitors started beeping wildly. A doctor rushed into the room. We need to resuscitate. Don't, Eleanor's mother said. We're letting him go. Mrs. Lee? He's old. We don't want to put him through any more. He's gonna die sooner or later anyway. I want my husband to suffer less. I hope you understand. Her voice grew calmer. We're refusing treatment. With that, she reached over to pull off her husband's oxygen mask. Mom! Eleanor ran in, grabbing her mother's hand. What are you doing? Dad might survive if they try to save him. Her mother slapped her across the face. Get out. Then she slapped her again. Why did you cheat? Why? You learn all the wrong things. Why did you have to learn how to cheat? Please, calm down. A doctor said as nurses crowded the room, trying to intervene. In that brief moment, the line on the monitor went flat, letting out a long, continuous beep. Eleanor's mother suddenly laughed. Payback. She calmly called the funeral home to arrange for the cremation. Every time Eleanor tried to question her, her mother would slap her again. I have to say, it was satisfying to watch. By the time the body had been turned to ash, the mistress finally realized what had happened. She showed up at the family home, crying and holding a 1-year-old child, screaming that the family couldn't just leave her son with nothing. My mother-in-law was full of contempt. Eleanor, now protective of her assets, had a team of top lawyers on standby at the old family mansion. The woman wailed, the child cried, and my mother-in-law just stood there. How could my husband possibly have such a young child? Our relationship was wonderful. He had no illegitimate children. If you continue to slander his name, I will sue you. But this is his child. If you don't believe me, we can do a paternity test, the woman shouted. Eleanor's mother let out a series of cold laughs. He's already been cremated. What kind of paternity test are you going to do? The woman finally gave up and left with her child. Since my divorce from Eleanor wasn't finalized yet, I helped manage my father-in-law's funeral arrangements. Eleanor, shaken by her parents' drama, stopped her idle pleading and focused on the company instead. The lawyers left 2 weeks later, having finally settled the estate of Eleanor's father. Eleanor inherited everything. I suddenly felt a bit lucky that we hadn't signed the divorce papers earlier. Back then, all she had were some properties and stocks. Even if I had managed to get 80% of her assets, how much would that have been? A drop in the bucket for her family. But now, Eleanor had inherited her father's entire fortune. Even if I only got half, it would be a staggering amount of wealth. All I can say is, when fate wants to make you rich, there's nothing you can do to stop it. That evening, I was patiently soothing my son when he suddenly started crying. A short while later, we received a call from the police. Eleanor was gone. Ethan had gone to see her again, demanding money. Eleanor, as ruthless as ever, not only refused but also had her bodyguards drag him away to deal with his own mess. It turned out Ethan had some kind of mental illness. He had brought a knife with him. After being rejected, he flew into a rage and stabbed Eleanor in the stairwell. According to the security footage, she stumbled, fell headfirst down the stairs, and was dead before the ambulance arrived. Somehow, Ethan's single stab had struck her directly in the heart. It was all so dramatic. I had said I would never forgive a cheater, but now suddenly I did. Look how good she was to me. The inheritance she had just received now belonged entirely to me and our son. Eleanor's memorial service was held jointly with her father's. In the vast hall, only my mother-in-law cried real tears, tears for her daughter. As for me, I managed to force out a few crocodile tears of my own. I looked at the black and white portrait. Eleanor was smiling in the picture. It was a photo from a long, long time ago, one I had taken from our marriage certificate. It was from when she was in her prime, the age when she loved me most. She should have stayed that way forever. If not, then she should have died at that age. As they say, the only time a rotten person is well behaved is when their picture is on the wall or their ashes are in a box. I have to admit that saying is absolutely right.